Did you know that there is a major drought affecting the Mississippi River right now? The waters have decreased to dangerous levels, which is having several implications, some of which can be seen and others of which cannot be seen. When massive and unexpected recessions occur in bodies of water, one of the most intriguing things that happen is that suddenly a plethora of artifacts are uncovered. This is one of the things that happen. Want to discover more about it? What were the hidden secrets uncovered after this drought? This video has a lot to tell you about everything. Keep on watching the unknown facts to know everything about it. Along the drought-stricken Mississippi River, a world that is usually hidden under the water has been basking in the sun. In the last few weeks, new islands have come to the surface, as have the hulls of sunken ships and a wide range of lost marine equipment. The narrowed waterway that is still there is clogged with barges that are stuck in the mud or waiting their turn to move forward down the narrow channel. Many people who live along the river have gone out on foot and by boat to look at the strange scene. Mark Babb is one of those. He has always been drawn to the Mississippi. When he was a boy, his father took him camping along the riverbanks. As an adult, he worked on towboats and as a kayak guide. He was both amazed and scared by what he saw on his boat for 7 days last month, starting in Memphis, Tennessee, going down the river to New Orleans, and then heading back. "It's just the scenery. It's so different," Babb, who is 61, said. The river has always been treated with respect, if not fear, because of its strong currents and ability to both support the communities that have grown up next to it over the centuries and destroy them by flooding over its banks. But recently it has caused a different kind of worry, because the effects of the drought in much of the Midwest High Plains and South go far beyond the strange landscape. On the lower Mississippi, the part that flows south from Cairo, Illinois, the water level has dropped below records set more than 30 years ago. Conditions have slowed down one of the nation's busiest and most important waterways and put drinking water systems at risk. And experts have warned that the heavy rains that would help the situation could be weeks or even months away. "We have seen terrible things happen because of hurricanes. We have seen terrible things happen because of tornadoes," said Eric Simmons, the mayor of Greenville, Mississippi, a port city of about 28,000 people in the Delta region. "But we haven't seen a historic drought like the one on the Mississippi. This river is called Mighty for a reason. Its main stem goes from its source in Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico, a distance of about 2,350 miles. Along the way, it passes through 10 states and splits into a web of tributaries. Its watershed is 40% of the continental United States. We're the main vein of the country," said Joe Weiss, the general manager of the Mud Island Marina in Memphis, as he sat on a dock that looked like it had been dropped in a muddy parking lot. "This is never supposed to dry up. The river's huge length and the fact that it connects soybean farms, chemical plants, and food factories have made it an important shipping route for about 500 million tons of cargo each year, including a big part of the world's food supply. The low water levels have not only slowed down barge traffic, but they have also forced the boats to carry a lot less on their decks. The cost of barge shipping has gone up." Colin Wellenkamp, the executive director of the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, a group of mayors from dozens of cities, said, "It's the most important working river on the planet in terms of goods. Everyone is going to feel this. Farmers who use the Mississippi to move their crops because it is an efficient and usually reliable way to do so are in a tough spot because of the drought. But because the river is too narrow, the agriculture industry is scrambling to find alternatives like rail and trucks, which have their own logistical problems and can only carry a small fraction of what a reduced barge load can carry. Industry officials say that it would take 16 rail cars or 62 semi-trucks to transport the same amount as a single barge. "We need our supply chain to be running at full speed," said Mike Steenhoek, executive director of the Soy Transportation Coalition, noting that soybean farms ship 80% of their exports between September and February. The Mississippi usually gets close to its lowest level in the fall, but this year's drop has been bigger than usual because of a dry summer in the Midwest, which kept the rivers that feed into the river from getting enough water. Its weakened state has also let salt water from the Gulf of Mexico flow in, which threatens the drinking water supply of places in Louisiana that get their water from the river. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers put up a barrier made of sediment across the river last month. This barrier acts like a speed bump, slowing down the flow of salt water that would normally be stopped by the river's downstream flow. The Corps is also dredging to keep more barges from getting stuck. Also, the group in charge of the Tennessee River system announced that it would open 2 dams, even though experts said it would only add a small amount of water to the Mississippi. The dry river has been compared to the Colorado River, which has been even more at risk from drought. Its waters had gone down, revealing the wreckage of ships and planes, as well as human remains. Experts said that while the Mississippi was not in a very bad situation, its low levels and the flash floods in Missouri and Kentucky this summer were worrying signs of how the river system could face more trouble as extreme weather events like heat waves and big storms are expected to happen more often because of climate change. Because of the conditions, people are calling for the river to be made more sustainable and for new drought policies to be put in place, such as making federal disaster relief funds available for drought response. The Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative was made to give the Mississippi River a strong voice and dramatically increase the demand for effective river protection, restoration, and management in Washington, D.C. It talks about things that are important to both sides, like the quality of the river water and the restoration of river habitats, flooding and floodplain issues, river-focused recreation, sustainable economies, and celebrating the river's culture and history. CNN affiliate WBRZ says that a man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who was looking for artifacts in the Mississippi River, was shocked to find the wreck of a 19th-century ship in the drought-stricken waterway. A severe drought in the Midwest has caused the Mississippi to drop to record lows. More than 40 river gauges in the river basin have reported low water levels, according to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Patrick Ford, a resident of Baton Rouge, told WBRZ that he had been out watching the river's receding waters for weeks, but that finding a ship was a surprise. "I was out here looking on Sunday and saw that the rest of the shore had been washed away and there was an entire ship there," he told the station. "I immediately texted my friends and said, 'Holy moly, I think I found a ship, a sunken ship.'" Ford then told experts about what he had found, and Mississippi's state archaeologist Chip McKimsey heard about it. WBRZ reported. McKimsey told the station that the remains of the ship had been known about for a long time. He said that the wreck was thought to be that of the Brookhill, a trading ship that had been built in Indiana in 1896. McKimsey said that the Brookhill had a sister ship called the Estruma. He said that the Estruma was the daytime ferry across the river, and the Brookhill was the nighttime ferry. On September 29, 1915, there was a big storm, and both ships sank, he told WBRZ. Logs crashed into the Brookhill. McKimsey said the shipwreck was within 100 feet of where the ferry used to land. McKimsey said that an archaeological firm had done some research on the wreck when it was found 30 years ago. In 1992, they did some limited investigations and could look at very small pieces, basically parts that were about a foot or two wide, to try to figure out how it was built and how old it was, he said. At that time, it wasn't nearly as exposed as it is now. It was still mostly covered with mud, and they had to do a lot of digging to see even small pieces of it. The archaeologists said that 90% of the ship's hull was now exposed and would be studied to add to drawings of how it was thought to have been built. Most of the time, there aren't good documents on how to build boats, especially when it comes to wooden ships, McKimsey told WBRZ. These boats are all different, and there are so few of them left. This is a very rare example of one from around 1900. Ford also urged people to keep exploring. Explore your surroundings. Learn where you live and what's around you, not just what's in front of you. Take a walk and see what's out there, he said. Wiley Pruitt was exploring a newly exposed sandbar in the drought-stricken Mississippi River when he saw something black sticking out of the sand. When Pruitt looked more closely, he saw that the object was a tooth, and a big one at that. He thought it belonged to a carnivore, but he wanted to be sure, so he took it to the Mississippi Fossil and Artifact Symposium and Exhibition to ask the experts. Paleontologists now think that the tooth, which is part of a fossilized jawbone, once belonged to a large American lion, Panthera atrox, which has been extinct for about 11,000 years. During the Pleistocene, at least 340,000 years ago, big cats roamed all of North America, but fossils of them in the eastern United States are very rare. Now Pruitt's tooth is only the fourth one found in Mississippi. The fossils of American lions that had already been found were on display at the Fossil and Artifact Show when Pruitt walked in with his new find. George Phillips, the curator of paleontology at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science, told Mark Price of McClatchy News that the scene was one of those real moments where you blink a couple of times because you can't believe your eyes. Scientists think that American lions were about 25% bigger than African lions are now, according to the National Park Service. They stood 4 feet tall at the shoulders and were 5 to 8 feet long. Some of the biggest American lions may have weighed more than 1,000 pounds, while others were between 500 and 800 pounds. Because the American lion is just a different subspecies of the same species as the African lion, it would have looked like a bigger version of the African lion, says Kate Lyons, a paleoecologist at the University of Nebraska, to Newsweek's Pandora Dewan. However, we don't know if it had a mane like African lions, because things like skin and hair are rarely found in the fossil record. Experts hope that Pruitt will give the tooth to a museum or lab collection for further study, but so far he hasn't said what he plans to do with it. Pruitt, who is from Oxford, Mississippi, made the find near Rosedale, a small town on the border between Mississippi and Arkansas, about 140 miles northwest of Jackson. But all along the usually strong river, the water is drying up because of drought. Low water levels are slowing down barge traffic and threatening drinking water in some places. They have also revealed the remains of a ferry that sank more than 100 years ago and a casino boat that sank more recently. The river basin really needs rain, but meteorologists predict another dry winter with warmer than normal temperatures in the south and east as the country enters its third straight year of La Niña. Carl Plume of Reuters talks to John Gottschalk, chief of the Operational Prediction Branch at the Climate Prediction Center of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. He says, across the lower Mississippi Valley, we expect below normal rainfall to continue. If the prediction comes true, that would definitely lead to continued low water levels and make the drought worse there. The rain would help the most. Yet forecasters said that the weather in the coming weeks and months is not likely to be good. Scientists say there is a strong chance of a weather pattern called La Niña, which would make most of the Mississippi waters drier than usual this winter and keep water levels low into the spring, said Clint Wilson, the director of the Center for River Studies at Louisiana State University. That's all. Do tell us in the comment box what you all think about it. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.